Today, I'm going to tell you something most men learn too late, and some never learn at all. You should never argue with a woman. Not because you're weak, not because you're scared, not because you can't handle her, but because arguing is the fastest way to lose your power, your frame, and her respect, even when you're right. And today's video connects directly to law number 9 of the 48 laws of power. Win through your actions, never through argument. That law wasn't written for debates. It wasn't written for politics. That law was written for human dynamics, and nowhere does it apply more brutally than in relationships. Because when you argue with a woman, fellas, you're not having a discussion. You're entering a negotiation you already lost the moment you showed up. The first law: you must be willing to walk away. Let me give you a gem before we even go deeper. In any negotiation, business, relationships, life, the person who can walk away holds the power. The moment you need to win the argument, the moment you need her to understand, the moment you need to be validated, you've surrendered leverage. Arguing without the ability to walk away is like playing poker with your cards face up. So if you ever catch yourself thinking, I need to prove my point, she has to see my side, I can't let her think she's right, you already lost. Not because she's smarter, but because need kills authority. Let me paint a picture. There's a man, competent, respected, disciplined. At work, he walks into meetings calm. He listens more than he speaks. When he talks, people stop talking. He doesn't argue with coworkers. He doesn't chase agreement. If a conversation becomes emotional or unproductive, he disengages. Results speak for him. Now watch that same man at home. A disagreement starts, small at first, but instead of staying centered, he starts explaining himself, then justifying, then defending, then repeating the same point in 5 different ways. Not because he's wrong, but because he wants to be understood. And suddenly, the man who commands rooms is negotiating for peace in his own house. Nothing about his intelligence changed. Nothing about his intentions changed. Only one thing did. He abandoned his frame. Why arguments never work with women? Now let me be precise here, because nuance matters. This is not about women are dumb or men are smarter. That's childish. This is about how conflict operates emotionally. When an argument begins, her emotions rise. Logic and reason drop. The conversation stops being about the issue. It becomes about how she feels, what this reminds her of, something you did last year, something she saw online, something she imagined. You're trying to solve a problem with facts. She's responding to emotional reality. And the more logic you bring, the more invalidated she feels. So she escalates. You raise your voice, not out of anger, but because she's talking over you. And at that moment, fellas, the damage is done, because men who must raise their voice to be heard have already lost respect. Not permanently, but dangerously. The frame collapse. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. Women don't lose respect because you're wrong. They lose respect because you're reactive. The moment you're pulled into emotional back and forth, the moment you're chasing resolution instead of embodying authority, your frame collapses. And when frame collapses, respect erodes. Attraction weakens. Boundaries blur. Drama increases. It's a domino effect. The silent turning point. I knew a man who argued perfectly, articulate, calm, logical. Every argument he won. And yet, his relationships kept failing. One day, during an argument, he stopped mid-sentence. He didn't yell, he didn't insult, he didn't explain. He simply said, "I'm not doing this," and he walked out. No drama, no threat, no punishment, just absence. 3 days later, she reached out, not angry, not defensive, calm, because silence did what words never could. It reestablished consequence. Why attention is the real currency. Here's a truth most men don't want to hear. Arguing is still attention. Negative or positive, it doesn't matter. Attention feeds behavior. So when you argue, even angrily, you're rewarding the very behavior you hate. Men crave peace. Women crave emotional stimulation. That stimulation can be positive or negative, but it must exist. If you don't provide it constructively, chaos fills the gap. What to do instead? The soft withdrawal. So what do? You disengage without hostility. You say, "I'm not arguing. We'll talk later. I'm walking away from this." Then you leave. No lectures, no ultimatums, no insults. And then you create space. 24 to 72 hours. This does 3 things. 1. Reasserts your frame. 2. Removes reward for bad behavior. 3. Reveals her character. If she spirals, red flag. If she cheats, confirmation. If she reflects, potential. If she apologizes, respect restored. In chess, the king is the most important piece, but the queen is the most powerful. And many men destroy their lives trying to protect the queen at all costs. They sacrifice time. They sacrifice peace. They sacrifice themselves. And eventually, they sacrifice the king. A man must always be willing to lose the queen to save the king. Because life continues without her. But it ends when you abandon yourself. Stop arguing with women. Not because you're afraid, but because you respect yourself. Your power is not in convincing. It's in walking away without resentment. Your competition isn't arguing, they're building. And time spent arguing is time stolen from your purpose. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Hold frame. Share this with a man who needs it. We're out.